How many of you like insects to eat? Many hands went down. But before you say, you will never taste insects, just realize that you are ingesting at least 1 kilo of insects every year as food pests. A lot of tribolium beetles every day you are eating. And before you putting your red lipstick, just realize that it is nothing but the accused cochineal insects, the carmine dye, which is produced in Peru. Before you eating the honey, realize that it contains a lot of accused bee larvae. And essentially, we are all entomophagus. Before we inventing any tools, how we are saturating our protein requirements. Our ancestors were not able to hunt for larger animals. So most of the protein requirements were saturated by insects. And if you take any ancient literature, whether it's Bible, Aristotle, or Pliny the Elder, or even Bible, it all describes about eating insects. So there is nothing wrong in eating insects. Are there anybody eating insects even today? Almost 2 billion people in 150 countries belong to 1,500 ethnic groups consume insects even today. Termites and red ants are consumed all over the world. What about India? Do India consume? In fact, this is an underestimation. It doesn't mean that people in the other states are not eating insects. We don't have the data. From India, so far we have recorded more than 300 species of insects as being edible, belong to 19 orders. It includes starting from different types of silk moths to wasps, various woodworms, grasshoppers, crickets, etc., etc. How do they taste? Some taste like prawns, roasted almonds. Some are buttery, but I like the cheesy taste of bamboo shoot caterpillars. So when we say people, ethnic communities consume insects, and also the later FAO documents also say they are the cheaper alternatives for the protein. Don't think they are cheap. When we go to Northeast India, we see most of the insects I couldn't taste because they are so expensive. They are gourmet. I never got an opportunity to eat some giant Asian wasps. Femi never allowed me, but she got many times when she was going with the people for harvesting. Entomophagy is a recent program. ATREE Insects Biosystematic and Conservation Laboratory has initiated. One main reason why don't we eat insects? Insects give more protein than any other meat, and it has more micronutrients, and it has several vitamins and very high content of calcium, and by all means it is better than any of the available meat products. But in the meantime, don't forget some insects can be a little dangerous. especially certain insects which is feeding on certain plants, they can contain several phytochemicals. For example, the painted grasshopper Poikilotherius pitus, which feeds on the milkweed, can be a little poisonous. We are going through a very difficult world today. Now we realize global warming is a reality. And our food production is going down. This year, India's wheat production went down. A year before, our Prime Minister was proudly announcing that India will be able to feed the whole world. And this year we had to stop the exports. Even rice production is going down. Are we facing a big food crisis? By 2050, when the human population is increasing, when the population is increasing, as well as at the same time, the demand for the protein also is increasing. How can we meet that protein demand for the human? So that could be the reason why FAO came up with a dossier asking to start eating insects. So after FAO started promoting eating insects, there's a growing buzz all around the world. All over the world, a lot of enterprises have come up. There's a lot of promotion happening. Many people start eating insects. So, how that is going to impact the indigenous people who are harvesting insects from the wild? When people start eating insects, obviously we know that we are all a little adventurous about looking for diverse diets. So people will be looking into the diversity centers like Northeast for newer and newer insect food that can impact the insect diversity in the wild. To overcome that also, we have to start rearing insects for the food. So how to sustain when the rest of the world want to eat the insects? We have to start the farms. In East Asian countries and in Southeast Asian countries, insect farming has become a huge enterprise, a huge business. Thailand is producing more than 500 million worth insects every year. 52 out of 72 provinces of Thailand have huge cricket farms. But in India, it's still not happening. And it is very friendly to the greenhouse effects are much less because insect farming doesn't need as much of water, or feed conversion rate is very high, etc. So the water requirement or the feed requirement and greenhouse gas emission are all much less when compared to the conventional meat farming. This is something my colleagues from ATREE CARC Alapura has done, and which is now upscaled to people in Nagaland. Almost 8% of the GHG emissions are happening from our household organic waste. Mr. Naturescapes and our team, we have developed a household fly pod for rearing insects. So leave your kitchen waste here. If necessary, introduce the black soldier fly larvae, and within 2 weeks, you can start harvesting the larvae and feed to your poultry. Or our team has developed good feed for pets or poultry or even aquaculture. That That's how we are contributing to the circular economy also. And rearing insects is contributing to several of the attaining many of the sustainability development goals. But there are certain policy gaps. I think Honorable Chairman of NBA, Dr. Mathur, is here. He can help with many of these. None of the edible insects are still included in the normally treated species list, and most of this are considered as wild. So harvesting is simply become a criminal act, and also other legislations are so coming in between, and none of the insects products other than the honey are considered as a marketable products. First, I welcome all of you to taste the insect choco cookies. Femi is waiting outside the table with the cookies. And I thank Dr. Subhadra and Varsha for finding the right sous chef to make the insect cookies. And Femi and her team was working very hard to make it happen today so that they can advertise for the insect cookies. And special thanks to Sina for being our brand ambassador. Thank you all.